the man, the myth, the legend, Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
God bless you, Pastor Paul Begley. Doing well.
Oh, praise God. You sound good tonight. Energized, are you?
Yeah, absolutely.
You might be, give me a little volume. You might be a little tired because I think that there's so much going on. I mean, I don't know
a few things.
A few things. Yeah. You know, I won't share what, you sent us an email. As a matter of fact, I don't know. But there's some things that's been happening, haven't they, Mike, this week?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time. Big time.
Mike, did you see that flaming cloud over Russia, over St. Petersburg?
I did.
What in the world is that, Mike? What is that?
Well, it's going to be speculation behind that, but I tell you what, the fact of what it looks like is, that the world saw it is more like a message than anything else.
A sign.
Yeah. Looks like even if it's man-made, failed technology, whatever the case is, it's a very
eerie.
It depicts an image of an inbound something about to hit something is what it looks like. It's what a lot of people saw that. So it's almost like imagery. It's very strange imagery, but it resembles some type of object about to impact Earth. That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, like a massive asteroid, maybe, or maybe some type of. I'm not going to say EMP. I don't know what that would look like. It would be a lot higher than that. I don't know what would fall, or could be pieces of a comet or a meteorite. I mean, is it? I mean, it's over St. Petersburg, Russia. It's almost like, is it God or is it man? Whichever, it's still a fearful sight. The Bible said there'd be great signs and fearful sights in the heavens. This thing was
right. Yeah, it was. I don't think it was man because the radar was clear. Radars, sat imagery, everything was clear. All the optic bands were clear. So I don't think it was man. I think that was some type of a stream of wind, basically, but the formation of it was was extraordinary. Then it maintained itself for a little while and went away, and so that was quite extraordinary.
Brock,
I think that was somewhat of a natural formation, but when I say natural, it is odd. That's how it looks, and given the timing that this is happening in the middle of, people talking about nuclear war, prepping for nuclear war. Celestial problems as we are facing, more celestial problems. So,
I mean, listen to that, Mike, and play it one more time, Brock. I mean, folks, you're saying this didn't show up on radars?
No.
So that's making you think this wasn't a military thing or a flaming out missile or some kind of weird... Right. That this could be actually a sign from God, a sign in the heavens.
That's right. It's not. I don't believe it's man-made because all the optics were clear, so nothing picked up anything. Believe me, Russia's being watched very closely. Obviously, it's being watched, and but nothing showed up in that area. So.
Wow, well, folks, you heard it here. Mike around the world sharing with us that there was no. It was clear. There was nowhere was there any signs of anything being done by man, that this was a sign. And that's why I read this. And if this is a sign, as it appears to be a sign, the Bible said there would be great signs and fearful sights in the heavens. Okay? This is what would happen right in Luke 21 when Jesus is saying, well, you're asking me what are the signs of the end of the days? Okay, I'll share it with you. And he goes through this list of stuff like wars and rumors of wars and nations rising against nation, and there'll be famines and pestilences and plagues and all that. And by the way, great signs and fearful sights in the heavens. And Russia is in the middle, of course, this conflict. The whole world is afraid of Armageddon. Mike, Putin even named his new general in charge of the war General Armageddon. I mean... Yeah.
He's been a doozy. That guy's a doozy. He's very cold. He's very cold. Very directed in what he does. And so he's not very emotional. Let's put it that way. If he ever receives a directive, he's going to carry that out or die. That's how they
So you guys got, I'm sure you've seen his file. I mean,
yeah, he'll actually, for the sake of the ideology, this guy will utilize everybody he can utilize to complete the objective. And so, yeah, they should call him General Armageddon, because he is, he does not believe in negotiating. He does not believe in politics. He's, repulsed by kind, behavior. He's really, results driven, and he will kill everybody to get there. That's just who he is.
So remember when you talked about Salami, General Salami from Iran, and how you said this guy was one of the most dangerous men in the world. And Trump took him out. Do you? And Trump did take him out, no question about that. Do you put General Armageddon in that same category or no?
Well, you have General Salami dies, right?
Right. And
then that same archetype is in this new Russian commander. The same archetype. So that's kind of, it's kind of like those folks when all those ministers got together and they said, hey, we can't have the death penalty. They were asking why, and they said, because every time we kill one of these murderers out here, that same murder is committed, all over the place or in a different place from people that don't even know about, this guy being incarcerated. That same murder is replicated through other folks. And so they keep them, they keep prisoners. They don't like the death penalty because they know if they kill them, that spirit's going to be released and go into somebody else. And that was driven by priests and pastors.
So you're saying, Mike, that the demons in General Salami are just move over to the next big general somewhere. It just finds a new host and is just as bad or worse than the last one.
That's right. Same thing that happens in wartime with a lot of soldiers. They will go overseas. And, of course, the enemy, once you have a case where the enemy has fallen, right, a lot of death, those spirits that the enemy carries or whoever carries them, when they die, a lot of soldiers come back with attachments, right? And that is a very real concern. And it never fails. Every time there's a battle, more and more troops come back with attachments. And America's filling up with these things. So our jail system, they don't like to kill some of the hardened criminals. They like to keep them around because they know for a fact that if they kill one of these hardened criminals, that same replicated murder is going to start happening somewhere in the U.S. Very quickly. So that happens a lot.
Wow.
And it is, at its root, it is spiritual.
It is very spiritual, and these these demons definitely do go find another host, and now they're no longer incarcerated. They're back on the street, and they're doing ungodly deeds again. And this is why that's why the weapons of our warfare, folks, are not carnal or fleshly, but they're spiritual. Okay, they're mighty. They're in the spiritual realm, and that's what we're really dealing with here. Even in warfare, even in natural warfare, it's actually spiritual warfare that's taking place. Mike, we don't have enough iodine tablets. It's not just America, but I guess all of Europe is freaking out. They're not prepared. There's a lot of talk about a nuclear strike going to happen somewhere. There's way too much discussion, Mike. Is there too much?
Yeah, it is. It is.
What's the
chatter?
Understand. Is there chatter out there in intel?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're still nervous. They're very nervous. And Putin is in a very strange position, right? Because the entirety, the whole of the UN is against his actions, number one. He's still being political, largely, to a degree. His pipelines were destroyed. He's reestablishing one, trying to get Europe. He asked Europe, do you need this, do you need this oil? That's what he asked Europe. Do you need this gas? And so he's establishing another gas line because his leverage was taken away through the destruction of those two lines. So he established another. Saudi Arabia is also reacting to that. Also, Turkey is with him. So Turkey and Russia are now working together. Turkey may become a hub, a depot, if you will, of distribution for gas for Russia. And he's also talking to Saudi Arabia. Things are not looking good, but if the UN right now, they already know what they're going to do. NATO understands what they have to do. Because Putin is not going to stop. He's not going to stop until he acquires what he set out to acquire. He's just not going to stop. Now, here's the problem. You have Putin that's not going to stop. Zelensky is not going to give up anything out of pride for that nation, right? He says he wants democracy for that people. That's his saying. So he's not going to stop fighting. And due to this propaganda machine that they have for both Ukraine and Putin, this thing is not going to stop. So NATO is delivering all of its weaponry to Ukraine. That's bad. That's very bad. Yeah. It's bad because every time that happens, Putin is going to respond with weapons of equal intensity, right? Now, if we would have left that alone, he would not have used some of the new weaponry. Now, keep in mind, this guy has so many. They lie with this propaganda saying that he didn't have a lot of jets. Wrong. They lie when they say he didn't have enough hypersonics. Very wrong. Right now, he could actually fire off thousands of hypersonics wherever he wanted to. He knows that that's at his disposal. He has not released any orders for his mainline military to engage with the Ukraine. So what he's been doing is using people from impoverished places and brand new trainees that may not have the best scores, right? Sending them to the Ukraine is what he's been doing. The recruitment of individuals in Russia, when he said he's mobilizing the military, right? That's so they can take up all the some of the rear echelon jobs while he sends his main force forward. But that's only for NATO. He's doing that for NATO, not for the Ukraine. He's not doing what he's doing for the Ukraine. That mobilization is for NATO. Why? Because he has a hint of what NATO is going to do. The USA, NATO, they're not the only ones with embedded spies, right? They're not the only ones with agents in foreign territories. So he must have picked up on something, and he's getting ready. Keep in mind that NATO is they're not in a good position, right? The USA is not in a good position. Europe is not in a good position. We're talking about oil. We're talking about certain minerals and supplies. Russia has all the minerals they need to continue to produce weaponry and everything else. They have it all. They can produce an obscene amount of bullets. They could probably supply the world with artillery for 4, 5, 6 lifetimes if they wanted to. Just so everybody understands the real picture here. So he's not going to back down. But NATO is not going to back down. Now that they have condemned what Putin is doing, they have put themselves in a position they cannot back down, because if they do, the political machine for the UN is going to break down. The international order will not be upheld. It will fracture and fall apart. So they are defending ideologies.
So when Putin said this is the end of the American world order, is he possibly correct?
Yeah, he really is. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Suppose he stops, he just cuts off oil exports, right? And gas distribution in Europe. Saudi Arabia is going to respond. They already want to decrease their output by 2 million barrels per day. Now, just to give everybody a perspective of what that means, the USA consumes what? The U.S. consumes about 19.8, I believe it is, million barrels per day of oil. 19.8. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. It's around that number. Our SPR, our Strategic Petroleum Reserve, is only 717 million barrels, right? We import 3.9 million or 4 million barrels per day. We manufacture or produce 11.7 million per day. So that means we consume, our consumption rate, right, at 19.89 is still above what we import and what we produce. So we rely upon Saudi Arabia so that we can keep our nation fueled at, pretty good rates. But if they cut that off, we're going to be stuck. We're going to have 5 months of our strategic petroleum reserves to offset some of the loss of that oil, right? And that's going to be a problem. And what they have done with this international order, what that really means is an international petroleum supply. That's what that really means, right? This is a distribution system that they have set up, so everything is balanced. Gasoline prices are based on supply and demand, not how many barrels, not how much. That's why barrels of oil can go up. Gasoline prices will stay the same. That's based on supply and demand. Right. Everything is being upset, right? It's being upset because Russia and Saudi Arabia if their relationship breaks all the way down, right, or gets interrupted or something like that, then OPEC Plus and OPEC, they're going to have no choice but to decrease a little more for the sake of keeping markets regulated. That's exactly what they're doing. And so this does not look good for the international order,
yeah,
so to
when
speak.
you think about it, just 18 months ago, the former administration was here. We had a surplus of what we were producing more oil than America could use. We were actually selling oil on the open market, and the price of crude oil was way down. The price of gasoline was beautiful for the American economy. And how did we go from there to here in 18 months? Policies.
It's nervousness. These are by projections, right?
Yeah.
These are by projections. Now remember this, we're talking about the strategic petroleum reserve is 717 million. That's under federal control, right? Production of oil that people know about is 11.7 million barrels per day. Right, we're gonna have a consumption rate of about 23 million barrels per day in about 9 months. So it goes up from there. There are some private folks, right? Private industry is producing oil too, so we can't just lock them out. So what we have here is people are afraid of projections. Part of the markets is what they're afraid of in the future, not actually based on facts. They always want that cushion. Right? Everybody's trying to survive. The rich want to stay rich. They're not willing to be poor. And so what they want to do is give themselves a good cushion, and then set the market so that people won't absolutely just perish, because if they have no employees, their company goes under. Right? They need to compete in this international order. So basically, this international order is nothing more than a financial order based upon oil, based upon raw ingredients for what we consume. And that's what's falling apart. Yeah. Because Iran is a big part of that. We get oil from Iran, right? Imagine that. The same people. The same people that we say, we need to regulate what they're doing. We get money from them, or oil from them. We get oil from places you wouldn't believe. We do.
Venezuela?
So
do we get Venezuela
we get oil? Pascal, we get oil from places you wouldn't believe. We get oil from our enemies, right?
Yeah.
And so the market is more of a ruse to control aspects of richness of these global rich individuals, to keep them in tight control constraints, right? So because you have a few people that will always dictate that market based upon how they speak. It's not based on reality. This is based on a type of surety or future or something. So not to get into the demographics of that, what makes it so bad for the USA is that our bluff is being called. We can support ourselves with oil. Yes, we can do that. They're going to decrease our oil consumption by at least 10 million barrels. They're going to do this by those electric cars. That's why they're pushing for electric this and electric that and electric that. They're doing this so that we have about 200 years worth of oil. That's what they're doing it for. So we can sustain ourselves with nobody else for about 200 more years, right?
It's playing a long
game. This is what they're doing. The truth is, Pascal, there's an unending supply of oil, right? It would take us 60,000 years to use up that oil. So you're talking about propaganda is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They can't override. This is a big system that they have created, very complicated set of books. This is how the world operates, by a bunch of books that people thought up, and they said, well, we have to do it this way, and let's follow our own policies, no matter what happens. And so, yes, people die for no reason. People starve for no reason.
Right.
In truth, nobody has to starve. Food prices don't have to go up, all this. But what they're doing is saving this international order. I can't make that clear enough. All this stuff that people are saying is to save the international order, not to save the U.S., but to save the international order. Right, that's it. Yeah. To keep those relationships going, to keep some of these folks that just came in to that international order, to prop them up, right? Yep. That's what it's all about. If that were cut away, the U.S. could support itself, no problem.
We could
live good.
We could live, America could self-sustain itself forever.
People can have free electricity, free water. I'm telling you, we could do that. But greed, right?
Right.
And here's what they're going for. This international order means everything, right? It is, because this is the framework for the beast system. It
Yep.
really is. They know this.
Yep.
I'll give you an example of the beast system. I give you a small ideology most people don't know about. And it's just a small, tiny interjection of how this world is built right now. Of all people on the earth, a lot of people have this ideology. I hear it all the time, more and more. And they say, well, if you believe in something, you essentially create that reality. And people say that harmlessly, right? Like it's normal to folks to say that, to believe that. They don't know where that came from. They don't know that this came from the Theosophical Society. They don't know that this came from people who worshipped Lucifer. And the same people who worshipped Lucifer were the same ones who wrote the books on psychology. You're looking at folks like there were several folks involved in this. One of them was Carl Jung, right? Sigmund Freud, of course, and the Rand.
Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yeah, the Rand girl. She's the one who invented objectivism, capitalism, ego wealth, all these different things. But I'm telling you, they're inventors of the framework we now operate in. The founders did not establish those things.
David Rockefeller.
Right? The founders based things on a moral society, and to keep that moral society so it could be operational, so to kind of defeat this one person ruling faith and government and all this other stuff.
Right.
But it was usurped. It's all,
in other words, it's what Geneva just said in a chat. It's all about control. It's about you have to keep in control. To keep this international order in control is the only way you're going to be able to set up this beast system. And you can't let the common man get his hands on the controls. You have to keep us down for the struggle so that the elitists, the cabal that's running this world, if you will, this beast, this ugly beast, which is really what the Antichrist will be the head of, has to rise up. And I mean, I noticed that Saudi Arabia, they're telling us, go away. We don't care about what your problem is. They're telling Biden that. Like you said, Turkey and Russia are working together. But it's an international order that is based on controlling the masses. Totally
right.
controlling.
And you know what? They're perfectly doing it.
Yeah.
They're perfectly doing it because they really need people, right, to engage. They want people to, because if you ask yourself, what keeps the average person down? Themselves. Because they look outside the world and they say, I can't do that. That's what they say. I can't do that. Jesus taught us something different, but people say, I can't do that. Right. I can't compete with them. I can't do this. So guess what? They'll never take that first step of faith.
No.
And if they don't take that first step of faith, then Jesus already said, if we take that step of faith, it's by his strength we'll walk all the way through.
Amen.
If we don't take that first step of faith, we can't receive anything.
No.
Even a person who prays, Jesus said, if that person who prays, they really don't think they're going to receive. Don't let that person think they're going to receive anything. Because they're not preparing for what they pray for. Right? So it's the same thing. Okay. So this mechanism, Pastor Paul, is going overtime. If it takes 2 billion people to be killed on the face of the earth to establish it, they're going to do it just that way. But they need people's participation.
Yep.
People have to participate.
Speaking of that, is that Poseidon nuclear submarine? They call it the Poseidon. This is the thing that this ability to create a massive nuclear radiation tsunami. Is this thing still loose out there?
Yeah, it's out there.
Do we have
100 megaton nuclear warhead?
Are you saying we don't know where it's at, or do we have an
No. And people keep saying they built one. That's not true. They built two Belgorod 600-foot-long submarines.
There's 2 of them.
Two big behemoths in the sea. Well, both of them are. They don't know where the other one is.
What?
The fact is this. To be honest with you, they don't know where a lot of things are in the ocean. When they start going into the ocean, there is stealth technology they use in the ocean. Russia has opted to spend most of their money in ocean-borne technology, right? Russia did this. So Russia has a series of underwater craft that are unrivaled, They are seriously
Do they have the
unrivaled.
advantage on us? Does Russia have the advantage on us under the water?
They have two advantages on us under the water. Now, as far as above the water and face-to-face battles, there's a possibility we're matched, right? But remember, while the USA was stalling in funding to our defense system as a whole, right? Russia, they didn't stop. They kept developing. So they keep everything in the ocean. They have been developing. Nobody really knows because it's under the water. And these guys have never stopped. They have spent most of their time underneath the ocean. And believe me, they have fleets of subs all over the place. There is a defense map of where sub shadows have been seen, right? They do this about every 8 hours. And they show up as red dots, right? Every continent is surrounded by red dots. They know they're there. We're talking about multiple underwater craft. They know they're there, right? It's just very difficult to find them sometimes. In some cases, we know exactly where they are. And probably those are the ones that we want to know where they are. One of the admirals, well, a couple of them said that if you toss anything overboard on a ship, right, on one of these ships, one of our ships, U.S. ship, you're going to hit Russian sovereignty, meaning that a boat is like a sovereign nation. If you attack a boat, if you attack a ship, you have attacked a nation.
Right.
And so one of the admirals was saying, if you throw something overboard, you're going to hit Russia. No matter where you throw something overboard, you're going to hit Russia. Now, coming from an admiral, that's a pretty big statement, right?
Yeah.
And he meant that. And so that stands right now as we speak today. And Russia can absolutely devastate any nation he wanted to, almost without impunity, because if they struck us with an underwater nuclear device, we can't just strike back at Russia. You have to confirm the strike. You see how complicated that is.
Yes.
That's why Russia didn't develop a lot of earthborne technology, but under the ocean, yes, because if somebody hits somebody else with a nuclear weapon, torpedo, whatever the case is underwater, you have to verify. Right. And then you strike. That's procedure, right? So, they're going to call our bluff. Russia's going to call anybody's bluff who is in this international order in his attempt to destroy it. Remember last week when I was telling you that if you started hearing international order on television, that's when you better watch out.
Well, that's why I bring it up, because I heard it 2 days ago when I heard it right out of Vladimir Putin. I mean, he said, this is the end of the American world order, he called it. And then later the conversation moved to international world order, which is really what he meant. When he said American world order, he meant international, because America is the leader of the international order.
Well, in NATO, in the UN, a couple of people let me know at the UN, they sent me video clips they used. They said that Russia was a threat to the international order. They said this at the UN before they passed the legislation that went out that condemns Russia, collectively condemn Russia on this. So they actually use that word at the UN. Whenever they do this, they're defending what they have built. They're defending it. Now, isn't it odd that only Putin is a threat to it? Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
They didn't say anything about China. No. They didn't say anything about North Korea. They just said Russia. Yeah. That's it. They didn't say anything about Iran. They just said Russia.
Yeah. Maybe it's because we don't want to start we got enough problems. We don't want to have a conflicted front on 5 different fronts, although we really are still in them. Let me ask you this question, Mike. Let's move to this another area, because we're talking about doomsday here. The doomsday approaches. Gamma ray. A gamma ray hit the Earth today. It actually hit yesterday, I guess. It was the largest gamma ray ever to hit the Earth. They renamed it GRB for Gamma Ray Burst 221009A. They think it came from a exploding supernova somewhere, 2.4 billion light years away. And then I read another article that says that this was an extreme wave of energy. And when I saw it, I said, bingo, Mike from around the world, 8 years ago, waves of energy. Is that what happened, Mike?
It was. Well, that's a source from a few. That's a source from a few. And believe me, there's some track coming inbound. Whether it surprised them or not, maybe a university not your mainline folks who are able to see these things. It
Not
didn't
you guys.
surprise them.
I mean, you told us about it 8 years. It was. I went back and checked 2014. 2014, you said, "Oh, Paul, there's 5 waves of energy coming." You know. So yeah, you guys have known this.
Now, this is similar, but I want you to think of it this way. Let's take Beetle Guys, right?
Yeah.
And everybody looks at Beetle Guys. Let's say it exploded right now, right?
Okay.
We wouldn't have to worry about anything. It can explode all day right now. So it will take that thing is 650 light years away.
Okay.
Right, estimation. Right.
Yeah.
So that's 650 years. It'd take a long time for it to get to us.
Right.
Right. That's why they don't really worry about anything over 50,000 50,000 light years away. So, but think of it this way. The Earth has been going through a very, kind of region of space with nothing in it, right? Part of a cloud that part of a rocky cloud that this very, things are here and there, not really dense. As of last year, or the beginning of this year, I'm sorry, we started moving into the thick part of the cloud. So already at the heliosphere, there's been some perturbers. There's been some interesting developments. There's been some stuff, which is why they were going to spend any amount of money they could to get James Webb out there. Not so people can get nice pictures of galaxy formations, this, that, and the other. As a side thing. No, this is so they can see this cloud. It's kind of like we want a camera at the head of the car so we know what we're driving into.
It's not so we can get pretty pictures of the galaxy. We got to get our hands on what's coming. We know it's coming, and we got to know what in the world we're dealing with. Is that what you're saying?
They have to know density. They have to know. They need better estimates as far as proximity, right? Because I'm telling you now, we're going to get smacked multiple times, Not just one or two, Pastor Paul. I'm talking about thousands of times. We're going to get smacked. There's no way we're going to miss it. It's going to change life on Earth. It will. We're going to get smacked. We're heading into this thing.
So Doomsday is approaching. I mean, I'm not joking around when I put that as a title. I mean, Doomsday.
No, it's a pretty good title. It's a pretty good title. In fact, I was going to give it a tonight of January 5th, 2023.
What January 5th of 1/5/23? What is that? What's that date for?
Well, we're in proximity to something that's very threatening to this solar system. And on that date, this stuff is going to enter into the solar system. From there, it's just a few days before it ever gets close to the Earth. And from that point, we're going to have to deal with some things, right? Things are going to change abruptly. I believe that, a lot of people have a good idea of this, right? So war is going to become secondary to some things we're going to face in the very, very near future, which is somewhat disturbing, because if people knew about a greater threat, right, they're not going to care about war. If you already estimate that you're going to lose a billion people, you're not going to worry about the fallout from a war.
No, you're right. War is secondary, and war is really about getting control of the resources, because of how's nations going to survive after the event that's coming.
Yeah, they've been like us. You know what? In the Baltic regions, they have an order for 2 months. They need to have all the underground facilities, all the underground bunkers refurbished. They have to do this within 2 months. Okay, they don't have 3 months. They have 2 months. They need all of this done because we're entering into a window. Right? And this window is not going to go away. It's not something we watch for and they say, oh, nothing happened. Then it, goes away. No. They have to have everything ready in 2 months. 2 months.
2 months. Okay, January 5th, 2023, something's going to enter our solar system, maybe. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then after that happens, and we got this James Webb telescope out there looking to see what we're dealing with here. We know something's coming. How bad is it? How thick is it? How many rocks are in it, or whatever? How many waves? Once they see it on the 23rd, they know about how much time we have before it really waxes, right?
They're doing that right now. They're trying to see how thick it is right now as we speak. Okay. They are analyzing a lot of data right now. They know 17 dates right now. January 5th, 2023 is just one. It's just one date. They know 17. These aren't going to be days that people will find out very quickly if we haven't already reached some type of red point by that time, right? Because we still have to make it through. Nobody's warning about winter. I don't know why they aren't. But anyway, we still have to make it through the winter. And we live in a time where things are very volatile, right? Keep in mind that the winter people cannot really travel. Given the weather that we've had, we know that the atmosphere has a much larger potential of holding moisture. All this rain is going to equate to snow. And when that snow falls, due to fluctuations in temperatures, we're going to have snow, ice, snow, ice, snow, ice. That makes it very difficult to travel. The roads can't quite take that. And during that time, we're going to have poor visuals on heat plumes from, the U.S. and Europe and all these places. And we know that magma is also on the move. Magma will begin to change geology, period. We're going to see islands raising up. We're going to see more underwater eruptions, sustained eruptions. The sky, the atmosphere, and everything else is about to get real dirty. We're talking about, and all this is beginning right now. It's not going to happen in the future. It's beginning right now. And so it's a buildup to a pretty big crescendo, right? I'm looking for some large-scale volcanic eruptions. We have not had large-scale volcanic eruptions, and I'm looking for those. I'm very watchful for those. I know they're coming.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to track magma as best I can. They are coming. We have not had one. Mount St. Helens was not a large-scale eruption.
What?
Mexico did not have any large-scale eruptions.
No.
Nowhere on New Zealand was not a large-scale eruption.
Tonga?
We didn't have a large-scale.
What about Tonga?
No, it was not. It was not a large-scale eruption. But we are about to have some large-scale eruptions. The pressure buildup has been too much. We haven't had any release points that were sustained release points. Although we have, hundreds of volcanoes active, spewing out gas and everything else, it's just not enough. Right?
So,
it's just not enough.
So,
not enough.
17 dates, January 5th, 2023, but 17 significant dates they know about. We got the James Webb telescope out there looking as far into the future as possible, see what we're dealing with. Magma's on the move here on the Earth. You have talked about volcanism being extremely increasing. You're surprised it hasn't already done more than what it's done. You're saying that Tonga or Mount St. Helens was not big compared to the events that are coming. And yet Tonga came from bottom of the ocean and put more water in the air than ever that we know of, we can ever record. Right. The sky is going to get dirty. I take it that's dust and particles and
because they're also getting ready while everybody's looking at war. While everybody's thinking about nuclear war, they have been preparing themselves and retrofitting many things to deal with an ash environment. It's why the government bought up all the farms and built these protective facilities that they can actually grow things in. They have spent hundreds of billions of dollars in technology for soils, right? They're trying to grow things outside of natural sunlight. That's a very big thing. CERN has delegated a lot of their research findings to this cause so they can grow food without natural sunlight. They have replicated natural sunlight.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
They know at some point people are going to be underground, and so they're trying to produce an artificial sun because they want to capture some of the wave emissions from the sun or life sustaining. We can't survive without that. They know that we're going to go through at least 8 months of a cold period before anybody can surface again and really survive. So we are really entering into some very different days. Nobody has ever been here before. Nobody. Our generation will likely, we're walking into that door now. This thing could actually unfold. Things like this could unfold within a 10-month period.
Is this will the world start calling for a world leader because of asteroids coming in, fireballs, volcanism exploding, dusty ash in the air?
I'm sure they will.
I'm sitting here saying I don't think Joe Biden's the guy, okay? I don't think Vladimir Putin's the guy.
They're not going to deal with these. They can't deal with these. No. People don't have confidence. They don't have confidence in them right now, right?
No, I mean,
it's a big issue. People don't have confidence in world leaders.
Right.
If something happened.
Father Malachi Martin said, Father Martin said, the world is going to face insuperable problems. There has to be, and there will be, an individual who can solve some of the impossible problems, and the world will embrace him. Is that scenario setting up?
I would say it is. Think of California, right? We know that if we have large-scale volcanism, the sky is going to be full of ash.
Okay.
Ash causes bad problems within the body. It will kill most, a lot of animals, most plant life, and everything else. During this time, we're going to have earthquakes. It's impossible that a volcano of that magnitude would go off without large earthquakes, right? Because the tectonic plates, they're going to be shifted. During that time, people are still going to be living. They're still going to be here living, but life will be disrupted. You have certain regions, people have set up power grids in a certain way. They think, for example, in the middle of the USA, they found some issues in the middle of the USA. They have done deep rock scans. In the USA, the entire USA is not as stable as they thought. It is not as stable as they thought. Of all places in the USA, there's a high probability that near Mexico, those places will not be touched. Ironic, isn't it? But the rest of the places in the USA have too many fractures going down pretty deep. In fact, magma is starting to penetrate places where they never thought it would. So as time continues to go on, we're getting a better and better picture of what underneath our feet look like. And it is far different than what anybody ever speculated or thought about, 20 years ago. It's real different. These deep scans revealing some very dangerous things. So in truth, there is no safe place anybody can go to, right? There's none. If a person thinks a place is absolutely foolproof and safe, they are deceiving themselves. I would say this as far as preparations. Make sure they know Christ. That's a safe place to be.
Amen.
Everything else is not safe because the world is going to get some surprises. And the USA is going to see this with other countries. Write this one down, Pastor Paul.
All right.
Places where people think are safe. They're about to get a demonstration that those places are by no means safe and that anything has a potential to crumble. Anything.
Well, you want
to anything
know? Okay,
any place.
You know, one of the places that people think is safe is the Ozark Mountains. We hear this all the
time.
The
USA, well, no, the Ozarks, no, they're not as safe as, unfortunately, through deep scans, I hate to say this because people have invested a lot of money in being in the Ozarks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A place is not going to keep a person safe. It is not going to keep a person safe.
In other words,
we're going to get an example of that.
In other words, there is no physical location. It ain't Colorado Springs. It's not. Okay.
No.
It's Jesus Christ. It's supernatural.
Yes, it is.
You have to get into this.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And I agree with you 1,000%. That's why Jesus told us that these catastrophic events are going to come. But don't let your heart be troubled, he said. Okay,
That's
if you
right.
believe in me,
That's right.
you have to believe in him.
That's right.
You have to abide in the vine. But you know, people are so naturally carnally minded. We're thinking, well, if I own a spot somewhere in the Ozark Mountains or something, or up in Colorado Springs, I'll be okay. The truth is, you're not going to be okay anywhere. You're saying that the whole world is going to face catastrophic. I mean, I read the Bible, it tells me there's 2 deep impacts in Revelation 8. That wipes out 1/3 of the ships in the ocean. I read about a war in Revelation 9. It kills 1/3 of the world. I read about pandemics and catastrophic diseases and things that are going to just be absolutely devastating. Food shortages and famines and lack of water. So why in the world would we think, is it because it's always about, if I'm here, I'm safe, and it's those people out there? We've got this mentality.
You know what I think? I think, Pastor Paul, that a while ago, before we actually had the ability to see land underneath our feet as a whole, I think that people were really concerned about their families. That's understandable.
Right.
They wanted to go to the safest place possible. I think that the Navy did tell people, this area is going to be covered in water, this area.
Yep.
And so naturally, to protect your children, you're not going to move right there in the ocean. You're going to say, well, let me get my kids to the safest place I can be. And that's why I hate to say it, because people have invested so much of their time, energy, and everything else in these places, only to have new technology reveal that's not the case. It's just not the case. Those are, in fact, fracture points, and Colorado's the least safest place anybody could ever be. So, you know, I hate to say that because a lot of people, they didn't know, you know, the more we know by way of technology, the more we know, the more we're going to reassess the entire issue. It's kind of like those who believed in Revelation 100 years ago, very different than how they believe in it now.
Because
they thought 100 years ago.
Yeah, technology has now caught up with the prophecy. Now, 100 years later, like, whoa, now that we know what we know, that has a whole different meaning.
That's right. We're able to observe, and people are not saying, well, that's not, it can't be that, because I don't believe in that. They're not doing that. That's why, you know, in my case with Revelation, I'll know Revelation, but I don't want to interpret Revelation. I'm going to always be wrong. I'm going to just watch it unfold. But at least I'll know what Revelation is, so I can interpret it as it happens, because there are some elements that people don't know about yet. Like, for example, these there's you know, a lot of people have heard this. We're not the only ones here, right? But it's not aliens, Pastor Paul.
No.
The last time the flood came. How in the world can a person go underground during a flood and be safe from the water and emerge later on? Even the Bible said there are Nephilim before the flood and also after that. Right. So how could they go underground and do this, though? Indian culture, in a lot of places they say that. Well, guess what? Do you not know that the military-industrial complex went and inspected and investigated every single last one of these cases? They went underneath the earth. A lot of them did not come back. Delta operators are specifically trained for certain security missions for those who do surveys underneath the earth, and some of those don't come back either. There are horror stories about very big people who these things are they're just big people. We're not talking about some creature from Hollywood. No, we're talking about, think of a man, right, that has double bone density, right?
Okay.
A man that's very dense. A hand. Can you imagine a hand that's 4 times as wide as yours?
No!
Right? With the strength to crush a rock. People with double row teeth on the top and the bottom, right? Visible sinus cavities on their faces. Just start thinking about that. And they have elephant-like skin, very thick skin. They stink to high heaven because they don't really have access to water or anything down there. So just think of a big person like that.
But
just don't think of one. Don't think of one. Don't think of one. Think of millions of people like that underneath the earth.
Do they have red hair?
Red, brown, black.
6 fingers.
Yeah, but they look like us. They look just like us. They have very wide noses, very flat faces.
They look like us, but 4 times,
chins.
Maybe 4 times bigger.
Yeah, you're looking at a person that's probably, I'd say probably maybe 7.5, 8 foot tall normal.
Yeah.
Up to 18 feet tall, right? But here's what I'm saying though. Imagine a person your height that could take a car and shove it in your yard. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
People have enormous strength and stature, just strength all over the place, right? No necks. They don't have any necks. Can you imagine somebody's neck that starts at the earlobe? And think of it that way. They're not covered in hair like this, but they're wearing animal skins and stuff like that. Stuff all draped around them, and they stink to high heaven. This is what I'm talking about, what we're facing. And eventually, mankind is going to have to deal with that. They will most certainly deal with that. So people ought to get ready for that stuff. While everybody else is in this conventional world, they're going to be reacquainted with the spiritual things. How about this? The Navy actually had a run-in 2 weeks ago with something that has 6 flippers again.
Wow.
Right?
6 flippers? And
also, Pastor Paul, do you remember, I think I was on your show. I think it was on your show. We were talking about manatees before anybody ever said anything about manatees. And I was talking about these serpents that the Coast Guard were finding in Florida, and they were keeping that under wraps. But that they caught these serpents eating the manatees. And that they would have to come up with some type cover story because the manatees are going to go missing, right? Then I just kind of let it go. That's exactly what they did. Oh, the manatees are starving. No, they're not. They're being eaten.
Are these some kind of Megatron sharks? Or are they something totally different creature?
These are just some big, oversized serpent-looking things, right? Think of a regular sea snake. Think of a sea snake, right?
Okay.
But think of a sea snake that has the girth of 4 telephone poles.
I mean, you're talking, that's bigger than any anaconda. Okay, you're talking about the Leviathan of the Bible. You're talking about Leviathan.
Well, you have whales out there, right? Whales that weigh, 2,000 tons? So think of a 2,000-ton snake or serpent-like looking thing, right? There you go. the underwater, deep in the oceans, is being shaken up. Deep in the oceans, stuff is being driven up from down in those places. Right? We already know that there are oceans inside the earth, and that water has never touched
Yes, we do
our
know that.
water.
The Bible says that God separated
through
water from the waters.
Through earthquakes, right? Through
Yeah.
earthquakes, some of the rock that was dividing these places has been interrupted. Pressures have equalized. So guess what? Whatever was in there can come out in our waters.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
So you're not looking at alien life forms. Nothing came through a dimension. None of that stuff. You're looking at standard creatures that were just separated for a long time. They just did not, they didn't dwell in our natural oceans in large numbers. But now that's changing. So some of the animals that people think are extinct, this, that, and the other. For example, this year they found 4 more extinct creatures of big size. One's the size of a hippo. It was supposed to be extinct, but we know now it's not extinct, right? It's not.
Okay.
It has a long neck. It has 2 eyes on the top of the head, right? It looks like it's real white and milky looking with a coating of mucus all on the outside of it. It's pretty, nasty. It has 4 flippers. It looks like a prehistoric creature, but a slimy one. Right? That's what it looks like. But
Brock,
we now know those
Brock,
things
you got
exist.
Any pictures? Brock, do you got any? Can you put some Brock's? I can hear Brock in the control room going, oh.
No, but they're finding. My point is, through earthquakes, right? Through regions of the earth that nobody could ever get to.
It's breaking it loose. In other words, these earthquakes.
It's being broken down.
And the magma moving is, and the earthquakes and the supervolcano that are becoming awakened is releasing these things. And
shifting. Just like there are lobsters. There are lobsters that are about, I think they're about 5.5 feet long. They hang around these volcanic domes. Can you imagine a 5.5 foot lobster?
I actually did hear that.
They're almost clear. They hang around waters that are 600 degrees, right? They're starting to come away from these places, from these plumes, and they're migrating to other places, just gobbling up everything. But it's not some strange new species. It's just something that we don't normally interact with. So we know
about this stuff. You're telling us about this stuff. We've known about this for a while, that these creatures from the deep, the under the ground creatures, that they're beginning to move and starting to surface, and
that's right.
And they're going to be eating up the manatees. And they're going to be eating up a lot of things apparently, because they're carnivores or some type of.
Same thing on the land. Same thing on the land. We have deep holes in the earth, right?
Yeah,
People have found them digging mines. Earthquakes break places apart. Wildlife is being driven out of these things that were in cavernous places are coming out. Right? They find feral people all the time, which means a person who did not grow up with society. They grew up with animals, a standard person, right? They find them all the time in every single country. Every single country. But there are bigger feral people out there. There's some even bigger ones than those, right? And so something is starting to, these things are being reintroduced. They didn't come from space. They've been here. There's even policy. Do you know there are certain policies? And here's what the policy states. If too many of these things come topside, authorization of a nuclear weapon to blow up that place where they do exist or came from is authorized in the USA. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
That's an actual policy. That's an actual procedure, that because nothing can stop them, and they seem impervious to bullets and everything else. And so the only thing, we don't have a weapon right now that could absolutely just tear them apart and kill them, right? Because there have been cases where Sabo has been fired at these things, and it just didn't work out too well, right? Their skin is so thick that explosive rounds will push back. Their skin is very dense. So that must mean they're very old, right? Thickened skin. Yeah. And because they're flexible, right, they'll be pushed back. Not like a rock that'll stay in one position and absorb or be exploded by all that pressure. In this case, they'll just be blown back and they get back up and do it again. So they're incredibly resilient. So there are policies against these things. And there are certain areas that, all these wildlife reserves that people see, all these natural grounds that people see that they preserve them. They don't want you going in there doing this, that, and the other. That's for a reason. Because they know there are known places these things do exist. They want nothing to do with us. But
they don't.
They want nothing to do with us. But through all the instability in the earth, they're just being driven from their normal places. That's it. That's it. They're just being driven up from wherever they were.
So when I read the Revelation, it tells me Apollyon's going to come out of this pit, and he's got like these wild-looking scorpions and locusts and creatures like we've never heard of it before. We could be actually talking about creatures.
We could, because they are commanded not to touch any green thing,
right?
Not to touch anybody with the seal of God in their forehead,
right?
Only, so they're only, and they don't go out to kill, they torment.
Yeah.
So you're looking at something that's, you're looking at something that's like, that's obedient to God,
yeah,
right? But that has no problem doing what they have to do to humanity, to people that are not marked. And to this day, Pharaoh people, they don't want anything to do with an average person, right? But they do seem to be threatened by aggressive people.
Okay.
Right? They always react or run out of where they are, these aggressive folks. It's kind of like you can pick up how a person is by being in proximity to them.
Yeah.
So animals do the same thing. So wouldn't a feral person have that same perception, that same strength of perception to tell? So it's, there we are.
Mike, this is mind-blowing. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. It's mind-blowing for probably 95% or 99% of the audience, because it's not out of the realm of comprehension, because of so many things in the Bible speaks about these supernatural beings that we've known about before and after the flood. So because we know that, why should we be shocked about these beings still be around, and even others that have never been even revealed? So what you're saying is, we now know about these. It's being discussed within the Pentagon. It's being discussed in the world. And when Elon Musk says, look, why don't we just look for another planet somewhere to live on? It's because some of this stuff is being known. So you're saying we've got big problems. We've got bigger problems than Putin and the oil prices. We've got incoming asteroid, meteorites, dust, ash. We've got pole shifting. We've got volcanism. We've got things that's going to be coming out of the earth. We've got big problems, which means you need a big savior, is what I'm hearing you say.
That's right.
Is that why the Lord has been telling me all this time, Paul, let me give you a clue about a few things that are happening now. You better get people to Jesus. You better get people to Jesus. And right now they're blowing us off because they can't see these things, but you're saying these things are going to be revealed. I've heard you reveal things in the past that blew my mind, and then 4 or 5 years later, it happened. So you're blowing our minds again today with these milky, slimy creatures that are crawling out of different parts of the earth and the water and everywhere else. So I'm listening, okay, and I'm thinking
that's going to cause some fear. That's going to cause a lot of fear too.
Yeah. Will it ever get revealed to I mean, it has to be revealed, right? We're going to see them. Yeah,
everybody's going to see them. Everybody will know, and in that time, as this happens, as part of the issue with secrecy is not so much that something has come from another world. It's just that people are not going to be able to live their lives with a smile on their face, having knowledge that they're on the earth with something like that, right?
Well, are people going to lose their minds? I mean,
yes, they will. Yes, they will. A lot of people will have heart attacks by just knowing that something like that exists. People will, they'll have heart attacks from being so paranoid. It's happened to soldiers. Surely it's going to happen to the civilian population when this takes place, right?
Yeah,
and Pastor, we've already, I personally say the threshold has been crossed. It's already been crossed. And so, we're headed in that direction. My advice to everybody is, the call is going out that Christ is coming back. People ought to get themselves ready for real.
Right.
Get themselves ready. And especially this winter, be ready to deal with, just get yourselves ready. Get yourselves ready for this winter, because it could be challenging. But get yourselves ready.
You've been saying that. I think you've been saying that for at least 6-8 months. All that this winter could be, if we survive the winter, if we can get through this winter. In other words, there's some things going to take place this winter. You're seeing a change in the climate drastically. Okay, snow, ice. That means power outages. People can't travel. The supply chain disruptions.
Yeah, that could be people. I tell you what, they'll have some money in their pocket, but they may not have the product. You know, they have to be smart. No one should waste anything right now, but be smart, and that way they can exercise responsibility in getting ready for this winter, because we don't know how bad it can get. We don't know that, and people should be wise during these times. They should be wise, very wise.
You know, Mike, I almost want to say next Thursday night we need to do Doomsday 2. I mean, I think that what we've just uncovered today is not only the major events coming in on us, but the things that are crawling out of the earth and how they're tied with the Bible. And I think maybe you may have more you could share. Can we just pick up this subject again when we can?
Sure, we can. There's a lot more, and it's more practical, spiritual, of course, but practical and closer to home than people think.
So we'll touch this. We'll do Doomsday 2. We'll do that again next week.
Can. We can.
All right. And it sounds like we better get our hearts right with the Lord now while we can.
Amen.
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 Mike, thank you so much for being here. It's really shockingly revealing. But then again, it makes my mind spin and think of things in the Bible and think, wait a minute, maybe that's what that meant. Maybe that's what that was trying to say. I'll be digging this week.
Well, Pastor Paul, it's always an honor. God bless you, brother.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to be with us. God bless you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye.